Come, let us gather in worship together with these words by Leah Ongiri and Pat Uribe Laiti. Here we are together, each facing our different human tasks, or maybe the same central one, to embrace the lessons life delivers, to discern and respond as we grow, to refuse harm and cherish flourishing. May we know ourselves as vessels of infinite possibility, holders of each other's heartaches and tales of joys alike, weavers of one story in which we have our part. I'm going to invite Dylan to come forward and light our chalice this morning. I'm looking at both screens to see if I can see Dylan coming forward. And we're going to light our chalice with these words today. The chalice we light is a symbol of our faith. It binds us together as one people, a reminder that our strength is in our shared hope for the world, and that our common work is the creation of beloved community among ourselves and in the world.
All right. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Ogden. My name is Dylan Zwick, and I'm the worship leader today for a service that will be a little bit different. Today will be a special opportunity for our community to explore our intentions for the future and to recommit to our shared ministry. You'll be invited to think together about your individual reasons for being in this community and ask some big questions about why we even do church. Throughout the service and continuing into the program afterwards, you'll be invited to engage in thinking about the future of this congregation in a variety of ways. This congregation is a welcoming, inclusive place where diversity of thought is encouraged, sought, and appreciated. It doesn't matter who you love or how you identify yourself. We come here because we want to think for ourselves and explore with others. We ask questions, value the exchange of ideas and the depth that can come from being in community. If you're new here today, welcome. Thank you for coming. Fill out a newcomer card in the pews and put it in the offering basket when it comes by later. And please stay and chat with us after the service. Today, we have a special interactive program that all are encouraged to join. If you're joining us online, please fill out the newcomer card there. The presence of each and every one of you adds to the atmosphere, and we are glad you're here. Welcome.
I invite you into a time of meditation and prayer. So as we get ready for this little bit different time together, I'm going to invite you to just adjust the way you're seated so that you can let yourself intentionally relax for a few minutes. Maybe if it helps you to close your eyes so that you can block out some of those outside distractions, or just lower your gaze so that you're not looking at all the things around you that you need to do. And just take some deep and slowing breaths. With each breath, I invite you to just release the tensions that you're holding just a little bit. And as we sit in this space of stillness, I invite you into something that's going to look a little bit like a guided meditation. A time of silent reflection and of honest wondering together. Pay attention to your breath. Let a little bit more of the tension release with each breath. And as you're breathing, I just invite you to think about why you are here this morning. Why are you here on this beautiful morning? Because we know that you don't have to be here on a Sunday morning. Whether you're participating online or in person, we know very well that there are 1,000 other things that call us away from being here. Chores and sports. I know there's lots of those happening today, family time. So I just invite you to take a few deep breaths and just consider why you are here today. And as you continue taking those slow, calming breaths, letting out a little bit more tension with each exhale, I invite you to let your heart feel that why that you're holding. And then bear with me here. I'm going to invite you to examine the why behind the why. So maybe when I first asked you the question, why are you here today? Your answer stayed sort of close to the surface. Maybe it was something like, I always come to church on Sundays. Or maybe it was something like, I wanted to try out a spiritual community. And those are all obvious, great answers, very reasonable. But I want to invite you to find the why behind your why. So maybe there is a yearning or a knowing or a need that you have. Maybe you come here on a Sunday morning because you feel angst at the world around you and you need a community to help process that angst. Maybe you're here because someone you love has died and you feel lost. Maybe you're here because you know that there just must be something bigger than any one of us individually, and you need community to help you remember that. Why are you really here? Take a couple more breaths and just think about, why are you really here? And as you take those slow breaths, let your body relax into this question we're holding together. Feel that deeper meaning behind the reason that you first stated that you're here this morning, and just sit with it. If it helps, I invite you to imagine your why like a warm spot inside you. And let that warm spot glow a little bit. You can imagine it like a small fire of why, maybe like a chalice burning inside. And as you sit with the why are you really here, we're going to take it one layer deeper. Is there a why behind that why? So get in touch with that warm glow, let it grow a little bit brighter. Not just why are you here or why are you really here, but why are you really, really here? And if your brain is like, I don't know what she's talking about, just sit with it. That's okay. Let your answer come from that warm place in your heart that sometimes knows things before your brain does. Why are you really, really here on a Sunday morning when you could be doing 1,000 other things? Why are you really, really here? As you sit with your really, really, I invite you back into this space where you are surrounded, either online or in person, by other people with their own really, reallys, which might be similar to yours or not. And we're going to take a few minutes just to share these with each other. So if you are physically present in the sanctuary this morning, I invite you to find someone near you to turn towards now and to share. And if you are online, you are invited to share into the chat, and you can share as vulnerably as you feel comfortable. So the question again, with a partner or online on the chat, what are all those layers of why you are really, really here this morning? Why are you really, really here? I'm getting the the thumbs up from folks online, but I can't tell from the people in person. This is what we get for doing interactive activities in a hybrid sort of way. Thank you all so much. We had such a heartfelt sharing online, and I hope that you all had similar kinds of heartfelt sharings in person. So back into a space of prayer and gratitude. We're going to continue just in another few minutes of stillness and in collective prayer. Spirit of life, no matter what our really, really is, help us to know that we are worthy and loved, that just by existing, we are holy and enough. In this community, may we do our best to live into the values of Unitarian Universalism and to support one another in being the people we want to be. We continue our collective prayer by coming forward in a moment to engage in our weekly ritual of lighting candles and placing stones in water. This ritual helps us to remember that we hold all of the challenges and joys of being human together. We do not need to move through life alone. This morning, you are invited to light a candle for all of the hopes and the memories and the gratitudes and the love on your mind. And you can let that growing light remind us of the beauty that exists always. And you are also invited to drop a stone in our sacred gathering waters. These waters represent our collective holding of the burdens and pains and sadness that you may be holding. As you let a stone drop in the waters, imagine releasing it so that it may be held in the most sacred of loving care. I invite you to come forward and light a candle and drop a stone. And if you are online, to share any of your joys and sorrows in the chat. We are here together in this holy moment, and we are so grateful to be on the winding road that brought us to this place right here this morning. In some ways, this song encapsulates all of the why of my Unitarian Universalism. The importance of community, the acknowledgement of something holy, the gratitude I feel for the gift of life, and the recognition that being human is a complex and winding road with more questions than answers. As you use, it's natural for our really to change, even daily. That growth and transformation is part of why we're here. My really of Unitarian Universalism has transformed over the years. When my parents first brought me to Hope Unitarian Church in Tulsa, Oklahoma, when I was a kid, I was there on Sunday mornings mostly because my parents felt it was important that we had a spiritual home where we could wrestle with understanding our beliefs, even if they were different than others. And as I got older, I developed friendships within the congregation, and I felt compelled to be there because I was excited to spend time with friends. Later, I developed a Unitarian Universalist identity of my own, and it started feeling like UUs were my people. And in Tulsa, it was common to be in spaces of folks that didn't necessarily feel like my people. Some of you might feel some of that in Ogden. In those years, I began feeling a sense of some of that deeper why, beyond just a social community, even though that is still really important. I started feeling a need to wrestle with my beliefs and my values with people who could hold that with me, who could push me to consider other ways of looking at the world, and who would also validate and nurture some of my deeply held passions about how the world could be. There were parts of my life that sometimes felt shallow, and I could feel a pull towards something with more depth, where I could be real. By the time I was in high school, I was asking existential questions. And I was so grateful for a community where I had an opportunity to grow that piece of myself that was a spiritual being in a human body. My really was that I needed to remember that there was something bigger than myself alive in the world. Last weekend, I co-facilitated a retreat bringing together young adult Unitarian Universalists to imagine together the future of Unitarian Universalism and of young adult ministry. In our opening circle, we guided these young Unitarian Universalists to consider the question we've been holding here today. Why are you really here? And one participant, an 18-year-old raised in Unitarian Universalism, started out her sharing a little bit defiantly. They admitted that they weren't really sure why they were at this gathering, not because they didn't understand the prompt, but because although they identify as a Unitarian Universalist, sometimes they wish Unitarian Universalism were a little different. They somewhat sheepishly shared that although they identified with being a UU, the way we do Unitarian Universalism didn't always resonate, but they hadn't found anything better. They shared that answer in the opening circle, and then they looked at me as if to see if I was going to scold them for their honest answer. But there was a part of me that really loved their answer, because there are some days when my really sounds similar, because Unitarian Universalism at times has disappointed me too. Heck, a couple weeks ago, I preached about the many ways that we've created harm in our Unitarian Universalist work for racial justice. Sometimes we don't fully live into our values. And yet, thank goodness there are Unitarian Universalists who keep trying to practice and keep calling us forward. And despite this young person's concern, here they were, participating in this gathering. They didn't have to be there. And really, there's nothing wrong with wanting a Unitarian Universalism that can hold all of what we need in this lifetime. In some ways, that's what we are called to do as a faith. Unitarian Universalism is inherently not a religion where we just passively receive. We don't tell you what to believe and then send you on your way. We offer up ways of thinking and feeling and exploring, and we ask you to wrestle with making meaning as a community. We don't believe that you're going to hell if you don't come to church, or that you're a bad person if you don't show up. And yet, we believe that there is a power in doing life thoughtfully and intentionally together. And that's the beauty and the struggle of being a covenantal faith. The power of Unitarian Universalist covenant is that we get to decide, to choose how we want to be together. Not we believe, but how we believe. How we live out our values and strive together to be the best versions of ourselves. Some have said that we are focused on deeds and not creeds. At the retreat last weekend, we supported the group in embracing the worries of this participant, because incidentally, they were not alone in this reflection of their faith. In this group, we asked each other, okay, if our faith sometimes leaves you wanting more, what would a Unitarian Universalism of your dreams look like? And then, of course, the follow-up to that question in a covenantal faith is, what are you doing to get us there? We are coming up on the 4-month mark of my time with you. We have been getting to know each other. We've been streamlining some of the operations and administration of the church and developing new programs. And part of our necessary work together going forward will be to create a vision for our community that can guide us toward the future. What would a UUCO of your dreams look like? And as we ask that question, we're also going to be balancing the concrete realities of what it takes to keep a small congregation alive. Dylan and I wanted to offer this service together today from the perspective of board president and minister to help us recenter the necessity for this hard work. Because what is needed in the weeks to come is a balancing act. Asking each other the philosophical questions: who are we? Where are we going? Who do we want to be? And also naming some truths, like we really do need you to volunteer in order to get there. This is hard work. Remember why we're here to do. And then it requires us to keep finding and reminding each other of that why, of that really, really. Being in a covenantal community means that we are responsible and accountable to each other and to the larger purpose of this community. Today's service is a moment for us to take stock of our vision and reality, to take stock of both the really, really, why are we really, really here? And also the crunchiness of our current reality as a congregation. We are called to lean into a new vision for our congregation going forward, held within a reality that we will need to step into new leadership and into new collaborative ways of being if we are going to survive. The lyrics to the song we are about to sing were written by Unitarian Universalist minister, I take that back, Unitarian, not Universalist, minister Samuel Anthony Wright in 1953. Unitarian and Universalist youth, who were still separate groups at this time, were meeting for a continental convention. And during this gathering, the youth, Unitarians and Universalists, decided to merge as one organization of liberal religious youth. And it was this merging in 1953 that created the model for the Unitarian and Universalist denominations as a whole to eventually come together as the Unitarian Universalist Association several years later in 1961. I invite you to rise in body or spirit for this song of loving commitment. It's number 318, We Would Be One. Number 318.
We would be one as now we join in singing our hymn of love to pledge ourselves anew to that high cause of greater understanding of who we are and what in us is true. We would be one and living for each other to show to all a new community. We would be one in building for tomorrow a nobler world than we have known today. We would be one in searching for the meaning which guides our hearts and points us on our way. As one we pledge ourselves to greater service, with love and justice strive to make us free.
In November of 2022, I gave a talk about my family's journey to Unitarianism and why I'm an active member of our church and of our faith. I said towards the end, the only hope we have for progress, the only hope we have for knowledge, and the only hope we have for protecting against the harsh, indifferent elements are those institutions that we build, maintain, and pass on through the generations. Our church is one such institution. It's a very special one with a proud history and legacy that we inherit and are charged to maintain. It's primarily maintained not by profound events or great leaders, but by the continuous, steady, and unshowy care of tens of thousands. It's an institution to which my grandparents and my parents, particularly my grandmother and my mother, have devoted a great deal of their lives. It's one that I hope to do my part to maintain and grow, both in honor and through the example of their legacy, and one that I hope can be there for my family and my children. I meant that then, and I feel the same way today. Our faith and our church are something special. It's something that's needed in our world and our community. We've been at the forefront of the most important struggles for justice and compassion, and we are needed there today. I'd like to share with you all my vision of what our church can be. We can be a leading voice for justice and compassion in our community. Ogden is growing, and it's changing. And what our community becomes in 10 or 20 years will be shaped by what we do today. Our demographics are shifting. And that shift can either be compassionate and inclusive or resentful and cruel. Our population is growing, and that growth can either be responsible and sustainable or greedy and destructive. Our world is changing, and that change can either be isolating and oppressive or connecting and facilitating. It's up to us. I imagine a church in our community where every Sunday morning we can take a break, step back, and be inspired to be something better. A place for services that teach and let us learn, that love and let us grow, that comfort and let us heal, and that inspire and let us act. I imagine a church that serves its members at every stage of life. A church with a vibrant religious education practice that helps our children learn who we are and who they might want to be. A religious education program that provides opportunities for growth and exploration at every stage in life, and that not only fosters understanding, but community, connections, and the opportunity for us to learn from and about each other. I imagine a church that is known, respected, and a prominent force for our values here in our community. A church that stands up against the forces of reaction and repression and provides both a voice in opposition and a shelter for those who are harmed. Perhaps most of all, I imagine a church that is a supportive community for our members. A group of friends with whom we can share our joys and our sorrows, who support and cheer us in our passion, and who comfort and aid us in our struggles. A group of friends that makes us better than we are alone. A group of friends with whom we have a home. It's a vision that inspires me. It's a vision for which I'm willing to work. And it's a vision that I think is possible. However, it's a vision of a future that is far from certain. In fact, it's one about which I have major doubts. I'd like to acknowledge my own shortcomings. 7 years ago, I started my own business, and that business is still going strong today. It's a business I worked very, very hard to build, and for which I sacrificed a lot for highly uncertain returns. However, I stepped back from it a year ago to take a job as a professor. This was not because anybody in my company wanted me to leave, quite the opposite. It was also not because the move was financially improving, quite the opposite. It was because I realized that teaching really is my calling, and I'd be happier doing that for the next 20 years. It was also because the company had reached a size where most of what I did was management, and that's not really what I like to do. I'm not very good at delegating. I also tend to try to take on more than I have time to do, which means I sometimes drop the ball on obligations. I also can be irritable when stressed. For all these and other limitations, I apologize. In spite of these shortcomings, I do think I do quite a bit. I'm happy to be so involved and wish I could do even more. But I am worried about our church's future. Too much of what we do is concentrated in the work of too few members, and this arrangement is unsustainable. Everybody here has significant responsibilities and priorities outside this church. Everybody here has finite time, energy, and resources. We have jobs, family, health, community, and even recreational priorities that must be balanced with involvement in our church. Prioritizing other responsibilities and interests above involvement in this church is understandable and okay. We're not a faith that believes the church must be our top priority. The salvation of your eternal soul is not at stake. It's not even the case, I believe, that church involvement is necessary to live the values of our church or to be a good Unitarian. However, more leadership and involvement from members of this congregation is required at this church, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Ogden, is going to continue to exist. It's desperately needed, and frankly, I cannot continue doing more and more for a congregation that is only willing to do less and less. We need more members for sure, but getting more members requires work from our current members. Also, while ideas and suggestions for what we could do or change we could make are welcome and valued, they are not on their own what I believe our congregation needs. We do not need suggestions about potential changes or projects for other people to implement. What we need is for people to step up and take on leadership and responsibility for getting things done and for making what needs to happen, happen. I will give you some specific areas where I know we and I need help. A little more than a month ago, we had a resignation on our board, and we need somebody else to fill that position. I need help managing the technology for our worship service broadcasts. Connor has joined us, which is great, but ideally we need 2 people handling tech for every service and need people who understand the system for any weeks that Connor isn't here. Finally, we need somebody who isn't me to be responsible for managing and coordinating these responsibilities and making sure they happen every Sunday. Speaking of making sure things happen every Sunday, we need more help on our worship committee. With Kristen taking point on many services, the responsibilities of the worship committee have decreased, and we've been able to offer more in-person services, which is great. This has been counterbalanced by members of the worship committee stepping back. 1 member has resigned, and 2 have told me that with their job responsibilities, they're unable to do much and need to step back. Consequently, even with Christian joining, I have not been able to free up bandwidth to focus on other church priorities. Speaking of other priorities, I need help with our minister search. We have a job posted on the UUA job board, but just like last year, so far we have 0 applicants. And I'm hopeful, but not expecting, that will change. We need to significantly revise our website, improve our congregational profile, and work on putting together material on our congregation that will help us find the right person, if we're in a position as a church where that makes sense. Honestly, right now I'm not sure. Finally, there are many other activities like religious education that our congregation could use, from which our congregation would benefit, and which we've had before that would be great to have again if we can make it happen. These are just specific things of which I'm aware and on which I know we need help. There are many other things that we could be. If you have a talent or a passion you think you can share with our congregation, it would be wonderful if you could make that happen. The opportunities for leadership are only limited by our imagination and our effort. But we need your help to make them happen. I want to end by acknowledging the work you all are doing right now and have done in the past. Every person joining us today, by virtue of their doing so, is giving time to this church. Thank you. I know many of you are on our committees and are doing good work there. Thank you. I also know that many of you have been involved with and have worked hard for this church for years and are perhaps taking a break right now because you felt burned out. Thank you so much for all you've done and for keeping the church going over the decades. After church today, we're going to meet for conversation in Geneva Hall right across the hallway. It will be an opportunity to discuss what the church means to you and what you think it could be going forward. If you're willing to volunteer for one of our committees, there will be sheets where you can sign up to do so. If you don't know right now, please think about it and let me know. I love this church. I love what we are and what we can be. I hope it's something I can pass on to my daughter, and I look forward to building it with all of you. Each week, we collect an offering of financial donations. Sometimes these go towards ministries here at UUCO, and sometimes these funds are shared with partners in the community. And in this way, we live out some of our vision and our mission. Today, we are talking about all the ways that we donate to our community. Some call this time, talent, and treasure. We need all the ways we contribute to make it possible for this community to thrive. If you are in person today, you'll find at your seat an index card and a pen. As we collect our offering today, we're going to do something a little different. We invite you to take a moment to think about the ways you feel called to commit to this community. This isn't meant to put you on the spot. It's meant as an invitation to think about the ways you are currently called to share your gifts. You can write your name or not. And if you do not have an index card, if you run out on your pew, or if you need a pen, I have extra paper and pens up here. Raise your hand and I'll get one to you. Take a minute to think about why you really, really are here with us, and then about what might bring you joy to contribute to this community. You can write those on your index card now. Or if you're online, you're invited to share those in the chat. As we pass the offertory baskets this morning, we will gratefully receive your donations for this community, your offerings of joyful contribution. And now for the blessing of the offering. Oh, we saw one more card. Sorry. We'll pick it up afterwards. Ready? From you I sing, to you I give. Together we stand, the days we live. To you I sing, to you I give. Together we stand, and from this we live. Thank you for giving, and thank you for everybody for your contributions of all types. And thank you, Joseph, for being willing to keep the music going as required. This offering helps this church, helps us in our efforts to improve the world in big ways and in small. After this service, we will be meeting across the hallway, as I said, in Geneva Hall. Please join us first for coffee there, and then if you would like to stick around for the conversation afterwards in the workshop, please do so. We will be meeting back in here where Kristen will talk to us about what the workshop will involve, and then we'll be going across to participate. Will you join me in singing closing hymn number 1028, The Fire of Commitment by Jason Shelton and Mary Catherine Moore.
Into things set free from fear, when the fire of commitment sets our mind and souls ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment, and our future can begin. From the stories of our living rings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance and the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment, and our future can begin. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a blue prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment, and our future can begin.
As the service comes to an end, join me in saying the chalice extinguishing words in your order of service. We extinguish this chalice, but not the warmth of love, the light of truth, nor the energy of action. Our closing words today are from Eric Williams. May you be filled with the blessings of this covenanted community. May you carry them with you as you depart from here. May you discover the places in the world where these blessings are needed. May you have the courage to share them. May there be an open place within you to receive the blessings of the people whom you will meet along the way.